Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Above the Rim Rundown, where we run down all things NBA. I am one of your hosts, Memo, and right beside me, I've got Hoops. How you doing?
What's going on, man? Overall, I've been doing good, I guess. Just pulling through in life. Not a whole lot of new, different things, honestly. Just same old life routine. Um, Obviously, now we are in week 2 of the NBA Cup, so games have been a little bit more entertaining because of teams bringing it to another level for the most part in these games. Aside from that, overall, I've been doing pretty okay, shall I say. How you doing, man?
I'm good. Same old for the most part. Just working. I didn't watch as much games as I would have liked, but
Yeah.
it is what it is. I guess today, I told you about this, but I was like super hyped about the new Kendrick album, so I listened to that. I even like made a whole reaction video. I just finished editing it, so by the time this podcast is up, the video should also be up. So that if you're into that kind of stuff, link down below for my channel. But yeah, that's been on my mind this whole day. Just Kendrick. But it's not a Kendrick podcast. It's a basketball podcast. So maybe I should focus on some basketball today. And we got a good amount of topics to go over in the W and L list. But before we do that, we'll start by going over the NBA standings, and then right after the NBA Cup standings. I do need to pull it up really quickly. And okay, I believe I did the West Coast last time. So if you're ready, would you like to go over the West Coast this time? The West Coast, the best coast?
All right. So for the Western Conference, aka West Coast to Best Coast, at the very bottom we got the Jazz at 3-12. At number 14, we got the Pelicans at 4-13. At number 13, we got the Portland Trailblazers at 6-10. At number 12, we got the Kings at 8-8. At number 11, we got the Spurs also at 8-8. At number 10, we got the Timberwolves at 8-7. At number 9, we got the Grizzlies at 9-7. Number 8, we got the Mavs also at 9-7. Number 7, we got the Suns at 9-7. At number 6, we got the Nuggets at 8-6. At number 5, we got the Clippers at 10-7. At number 4, we got the Lakers at 10-5. At number 3, we got the Rockets at 12-5. At number 2, we got the Thunder at 12-4. And sitting at the top of the Western Conference still, we got the Golden State Warriors at 12-3. So those are our Western Conference standings after 5 weeks into the season now. Kind of crazy.
5 weeks already. Wow. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
that's
apparently.
crazy. Okay. East Coast time. At number 15 is the Wizards with a 2-12 record. Number 14, the 76ers with a 3-12 record. Number 13, the Raptors with a 4-12 record. Number 12, the Nets with a 6-10 record. 11 is the Pacers with a 6-10 record. Hornets at 10 with a 6-9 record. Hawks at 9 with a 7-10 record. Pistons at 8 with a 7-10 record. Bulls at 7 with a 7-10 record. Bucks at 6 with a 7-9 record. Heat at 5 with a 6-7 record. Magic at 4 with a 10-7 record. Knicks at 3 with a 9-6 record. Celtics at 2 with a 13-3 record. And Cleveland Cavaliers with a 16-1 record. They lost their first game this week. We'll talk about that soon. But let's quickly now just go over the NBA Cup standings. And since you did the West Coast for the NBA standings, would you like to do the West Coast for the group stages?
Yeah, I'll do that. All right, so for West Group A, the standings are starting at the very top. So just a little background context. Some of these games, like for example, the Kings and the Clippers game is still going on right now. So it's not necessarily going to be 100% accurate. So we're reading it based off what NBA.com says at this moment in time. That being said, here are the standings for West Group A. So at number 1, we got the Rockets at 2-0. At number 2, we got the Trailblazers at 1-1. At number 3, we got the Timberwolves also at 1-1. At number 4, we got the Kings at 0-1. And at number 5, we got the Clippers also at 0-1. So now moving on to West Group B. At number 1, we got the Lakers at 2-0. At number 2, we got the Thunder at 1-1. At number 3, we got the Spurs at 1-1. At number 4, we got the Suns at 1-1. And at number 5, we got the Jazz at 0-2. So now moving on to West Group C. And here are the standings so far. So at number 1, we got the Warriors at 3-0. At number 2, we got the Mavericks, who are actually 2-1. So they are second, as it says here, even though it lists as 1-1 on the website because not updated. So I believe the Pelicans probably leaped the Nuggets because the Nuggets lost also, but then they also lost against the Pelicans last week, so the Pelicans owned the tiebreaker over them. So number 3, we got the Pelicans at 1-2. At number 4, we got the Nuggets at 1-2. And at the bottom, at number 5, we got the Grizzlies at 0-2. So those are the Western Conference NBA Cup standings.
Now I'm going to the East, and I'm just going to read them off how the website has it.
Yeah. So I will say this. I think the East should be 100% up to date because those games ended early hours ago.
Yeah, that would make sense, but we'll see. We'll see, I guess. So Group A,
Yeah.
Magic is number 1 with a 2-0 record. Knicks, number 2 with a 2-0 record. 76ers, 3 with a 1-2 record. Nets, 4 with a 1-2 record. And Hornets, 5 with a 0-2 record. In Group B, Bucks is number 1 with a 2-0 record. Pistons, number 2 with a 2-0 record. Heat, number 3 with a 1-1 record. Raptors, number 4 with a 0-2 record. And Pacers at number 5 with an 0-2 record. And lastly, Group C, Hawks are number 1 with a 2-1 record. Celtics are number 2 with a 2-1 record. The Cavaliers are number 3 with a 1-1 record. The Bulls are number 4 with a 1-1 record. And the Wizards are dead last with a 0-2 record, number 5. So those are the NBA Cup standings. We talked a lot about the NBA Cup last week, but we're not going to do so today. I think we'll wait a bit more. We'll mention some games here and there, obviously some performances, but we're basically waiting for the knockout stage to really dive in once again into the knockout stages. So let's actually move on to the W list and talk. We kind of hinted this earlier, but we're going to talk about the Celtics to start things off, unfortunately, but we got to do it because the Celtics have defeated the Cavs and their streak is over. The 15-game win streak to start their season is finally over, which is tied for the second best start to an NBA season. And this is also the best start for a new hire coach, I guess. I don't know if I phrased that correctly, but there's that. And I was able to catch this game, and the Celtics did look like the better team, even though the Cavs had the better record. The Celtics just, they're scrappy. The defense is crazy. I think the defense is a big part of the reason why, because they slowed down Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland, who both had poor shooting performances, especially from 3. Mitchell was 3 for 11, while Garland didn't even make 1, 0 for 6. And the whole team in general from 3 did pretty poorly, 10 for 29, while the Celtics, they were draining threes like crazy. They were 22 for 41. And that's how they beat like everybody. Just outscore them from the 3-point line. But even though they were outscoring them like crazy from the 3-point line, the Cavs did do very well in the paint, and the score was actually really close. Like, the Cavs put up a fight. There was like a 21-point lead, I believe, in the third quarter, but that's where the Cavs went on a huge run, and they got pretty close at one point. They basically put up a fight till the end, but ended up losing under 20 to under 17. Watching this fight or hearing about this fight, how do you feel about the Cavs now? Because we both talked about how this was a measuring stick game, how this game will help us figure out how good the Cavs really are. So, what do you believe the Cavs are going to be able to do this season, based off of their great run at the beginning of the season, and also based off of seeing them actually play against the title contenders?
Yeah, so pretty much as you summed up, the Cavs didn't necessarily have their best game this night, especially shooting wise. Donovan Mitchell struggled from three. Darius Garland was just horrible overall. I mean, he was over 6 from three, but he was only 3 for 21 overall. So yeah, that was bad. And obviously Celtics are making their threes, so that's never good when you're missing and they're making. But obviously the Cavs did end up making a run in the third quarter, fourth quarter to get close. Unfortunately, they just fell short. And I will say this, even though they didn't have their best game, the fact that they ended up only losing by 3 was honestly pretty impressive, if you ask me. Because, like, you see that shooting percentage from those two guys, and the team overall from 3, you would think that they got blown out, which they were for a little bit. But the fact that they were able to come out swinging at the end and at least have a chance to win proved like this team is probably not quite there, but if they fix some tic-tac stuff, they could end up being a lot better towards the end of the year. That being said, I think this is a game that the Cavs definitely could have easily won if they would have played from start to finish really good. But because they've had themselves in such a big hole, it was hard for them to climb back. But as far as what this game puts as the Cavs' outlook going forward this season, I would say they're definitely going to be one of the top seeds in the Eastern Conference. I just don't know if they're quite there for, like a finals championship run. I think that they could definitely be like a top 3. Definitely probably at least a top 5. I mean, they were a top 4 last year, and they look like at least a good amount better than last year. So they should be like probably a top 3, like at least 1 seed higher than last year, you think. Especially because like the Eastern Conference really isn't looking very strong right now. Matter of fact, it's looking quite bad at the moment. So I feel like honestly, if they're anything below the 2nd seed, like battling between them and the Celtics, I feel like that would be a massive disappointment for that team, especially with such a hot start date. So that being said, I think the Cavs, they're not there yet in terms of championship contender right now, but they fix certain tic-tac stuff, they could potentially get there as the season goes by. But yeah, those are pretty much my initial thoughts on the Cavs after this game. What are your thoughts on the Cavs after their first loss, shall we say?
Well, first I want to agree with you because I do think this is like a good loss, I guess, because as we talked about, they only lost by 3 points, and to be fair, there were several people out that game, like Karis LeVert, who has had a great season. I believe Isaac Okoro was out too, who could have helped, uh, especially on the defensive side, in order to slow down Jason Tatum, who had a great performance that game. So, in this Darius Garland game is by far the worst game of the season. There's no way he's gonna continue playing like this all the time. So, if your two main scorers are having bad shooting games, one of your best defenders is out, one of your best bench players is out, and you still only lose by 3 against the defending champs, that is a good sign. But as you mentioned, I don't think they will go to the finals. I think the Celtics are just that good. And, I just talked about how the Cavs are injured. The Celtics still don't have Kristaps Porzingis. They're this good, and they don't even have the unicorn, Tingus Pingus, on the team. So, I don't think Cavs are finals bound. I've never thought they were during this run, but they are playing as good as I expected them to be like 2 years ago. I don't know if you remember my rankings for the Cavs like 2 years ago when we started the podcast, but I ranked them pretty high. I think third or fourth seed, and they're kind of surpassing expectations. So I feel like I was a little early on the Cavs. I knew they were going to be good, but I was a season too early, I guess. So I do think the Cavs, as you said, are probably going to be in the second seed, maybe even the first seed, but they're not going to the finals. I don't think so. Conference finals, sure. I think, as you mentioned, the talent gap between the first two seeds in the East and the rest of the East is very, very big. The talent gap is huge. It's actually kind of depressing to look at. So it's really a two-man race for the Eastern Conference Finals, I guess, championship or whatever. So we'll see. It's still early, but yeah, that's how I'm feeling at the moment.
Yeah, sounds about right. Two-man race, because everyone else is just significantly worse record-wise, at least. Granted, like, any team could get hot at any time, but until proven, we gotta see who it could be, because at the moment it's only looking like these two teams. And yeah, as weird as it sounds, a good loss. This one honestly is considered a good loss in terms that they didn't even play well, and yet they only lost by 3. Which, if anything, like sometimes like these types of performances are needed for a team to have a wake up call and get better as the season goes by. If a team is like blowing out teams every game, they may start getting complacent, and then at the end of the season, they choke, and it's gonna bite them in the ass. Because we've seen like crazy team collapses in the past because of like complacency or what you name it. So definitely, good losses are a thing, and I think they'll definitely learn and for sure get better from this experience. And as mentioned, they will get some of their guys back and healthy. Unfortunately, the Celtics will also, but yeah, regarding the Cavs, I think definitely the 1 or 2 seed in the Eastern Conference, most likely.
Yeah, it'll be a fun watch for sure moving forward, seeing how these two compete against each other. But I think that's it for Celtics Cavs talk. Alright, so the next thing we're talking about some record-breaking news. We're going to combine these next two W list nominees. And we'll start with James Harden, who is now second all-time in three-pointers made, just behind Stephen Curry, who currently has 3,796 threes. And James Harden now has 2,982 threes. So there's a large gap in between them. And James Harden just beat Ray Allen, who has 2,973 points made, and Harden was able to do this against the Jazz. And yeah, a very impressive feat, being second all time. But the other record that I also wanted to mention was Russell Westbrook, who just recently, in a win against the Grizzlies for the Nuggets, Russell Westbrook recorded his 200th triple-double. And he is now the first player to reach this milestone. So I'm going to ask you, which record do you believe is the more impressive record? Both of them are obviously very impressive. They're cool to see. But in your opinion, which one is more impressive?
So, yeah, pretty much as you mentioned, both of them, very impressive. James Harden, number 2 all time in threes made, is very crazy accomplishment. And Russ having 200 triple doubles, leading by far all time, also crazy. But if I had to pick which one is more impressive, I gotta go with Russ and the 200 triple doubles. Simply due to the fact that, like, no one else really is, like, even that remotely close at the moment. Like, there are other players that have had a good amount of triple doubles. But this guy, like, granted, like, these last few years, he's more of been like a bench roll type of guy, like taking a step back. But like during those years in OKC, he would have a triple double damn near every game, and that says a lot, like how impressive this stat is. And not just that, first player in NBA history to reach 200 triple doubles, and he did it with 6 different teams too, which is also really impressive. So just for some context, there have been several players that have done it with 5 different teams, and that would be Rajon Rondo and Mark Jackson. But Russ is the only guy that has done it with 6 different teams. So that's another impressive feat on top of an impressive feat. So both of these are very impressive records that are going to be tough to beat for sure. But at the end of the day, I believe Russ's is more impressive just because I think his is going to be a little bit tougher to get beat by another player down the road. Simply due to the fact that, like, granted, like, Harden is past Allen and still going, so he definitely will add a lot to his number. But especially knowing how many threes are being shot during this league currently, I feel like there could be a chance someone passes him due to how high volume the 3 ball is now. Versus triple doubles, there will be players that get it commonly. Like obviously LeBron had like 5 straight last week or whatever it was. But I think that 200 is going to be definitely quite tough to get for any player. So overall, I would say Russ's is just a little bit more impressive.
Yeah, I think I agree. I think the triple double record is pretty impressive. Well, they're both impressive. I guess I'll take Westbrook in having the more impressive record. Because James Harden is second, which is basically first because Stephen Curry is like out of this world. He was joking how Steph shouldn't even count because no one will ever be able to be like Steph.
That's great.
And I guess I could see someone beating Harden, but I could also see someone beating Westbrook. In fact, I think his teammate Nikola Jokic has a good chance. He has a total of 154 career triple doubles, 136 in the regular season, and is currently 4th in the all-time list behind, of course, Westbrook, Magic Johnson, and Oscar Robertson. I could see Jokic doing this because he racks them up like casually, like all the time. I don't know how much he has this year, but I know he's had a few already. And I could see him doing this for like 2-3 more years. I could see him breaking it, but if Jokic can't do it, then I don't think anybody will be able to do it anytime soon. So maybe that's why the Westbrook one is a bit more impressive because it's a little harder unless you're Jokic. But yeah, I think Jokic is the only guy that can beat Westbrook. Do you think anybody currently can beat James Harden? I haven't really put a lot of thought into this one, so I don't know who could be able to beat Harden for second. But do you have any idea? Uh,
Um,
hmm,
it's really hard to say because like a lot of factors come in, like longevity, the 3 point volume,
yeah,
all that, you name it. Um, like for example, I looking at the all-time list at this moment in terms of like active players that are there. Number 4, we have Damian Lillard. Number 6, we got Klay Thompson. Number 8, we got LeBron. So forth. I haven't looked too deep. KD at 15. Um, I feel like because like the thing is, Dame is like not that far off on the list, but like he's only eight. I'm not sure about their exact ages, but I know he joined the league only 3 years after Harden did. So I suppose he's not like a lot younger than Harden, meaning I don't know like how much longer exactly he will play than Harden. But if he does play like a good amount of years left, maybe he could do it. But currently, I think he is still like 823s behind Harden, which is like it's a margin, but I think he could do it. Like maybe if let's say for example, Harden retires in 2029, for example, because he was drafted in 2009, so that would be a 20-year career. And so let's say Dame, he was drafted in 2012. Let's say he plays until 2032. So then those 3 years of like the whatever gap, maybe that could be the time that he covers the ground. So I think Dame maybe could be potentially one possible factor. Um, Now not really seeing the complete list. Originally, I was wondering like whether or not like a guy like I was gonna. I feel like this might be like a little bit far fetched, but I was gonna say like maybe if like Luca keeps on shooting like crazy amount of high volume threes, I don't know if he'll be able to climb all the way up to number 2 because I don't think he's even on the. Granted, he's still relatively young, so it's not like crazy, but right now, like I don't know where he is on the list. He's definitely not in the top 50 though. So maybe he can get somewhat close. I don't know if he'll be able to get to number 2 though.
yeah. I feel like some
Um,
younger players that might have a chance just based off of their play style. I was gonna say Lamelo, but he's always injured, so maybe not him.
yeah.
Trey Young though,
Mm-hmm.
he shoots a lot of threes. That's a big part of his game. But I think you're right. A big part of this achievement is longevity. So Klay Thompson wouldn't be up there, or Kevin Durant. Probably even Dame. Like we're already seeing him. Um, you know, not be the same player as he was for the Trailblazers. I think just recently he had a game where he missed like all of his 3 pointers. So we already see
Yeah.
his shooting going down. So yeah, I guess this might be hard to beat. I can't really think of anybody that could beat Harden, but I guess we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
I feel like the player I think currently based on where they are ranked right now that might have the best chance maybe Dame. But then again, like he has been getting injured a little bit more, so it's kind of hard to say. Aside from that, though, it's really hard to say for those young players because like they have that potential to get there, but right now they are just so young and not quite seen on the list yet that we just don't know how things will pan out. But it's definitely going to be really tough to for anyone to surpass him for number two, though.
True, true. But okay, I guess we can move on. And you brought up in our docs a cool fact. Would you like to tell everybody?
Yeah, so on Twitter, I came across a post that had a cool little fact that said that Giannis Antetokounmpo has had the most 30-point games in the NBA over the last decade. So from 2014 to 2024, Giannis owns the most 30-point games. I thought that was pretty cool and worthy of a mention on a W list. Aside from that, I think not too much else. The Bucks have been, I guess I'll just quickly bring up the Bucks just because he plays for them. They seemingly have been playing a little bit better this week. They have been winning some games recently. They did beat the Pacers in an NBA Cup game, so very important win there. And they're now on a 3-game winning streak and moved all the way up to the 6th seed. So good for them. Hopefully, they keep trending in the right direction.
Yeah, they for sure had a nice week, a good bump there in the standings. And when you put this in the talk, I was actually very surprised. I couldn't believe Giannis has the most 30-point games. It kind of makes sense because that's what he's been averaging for a few years now. But usually I think of players like LeBron or Kevin Durant. I guess less LeBron because he's more of a pass first guy. And then the more I think about Durant, he does get injured quite a bit. So I guess the
Yeah,
more you think about it, the more it makes sense as Giannis. But at first, I was really surprised.
yeah. I think I definitely agree because like those guys you mentioned, like LeBron and KD, they probably would be up there if like not as many games missed. Maybe like for example, granted, like Giannis has missed a fair share number of games with his injuries, but like KD being out a lot these last 5 seasons, LeBron having more of like 20-point games maybe, and then here and there he has like the crazy 30, 40, even 50-point games. Um, I think looking back as a reflection makes sense that Giannis is the leader.
Yeah, it does. It does. Next player we want to shout out, De'Aaron Fox, who last week we kind of gave like a quick little mini W of the week just because it was like breaking news that he dropped 60 points last week, which is still the most any player has scored this season. But literally right after that 60-point performance, which the Kings ended up losing against the Timberwolves, the next day, the very next day, 24 hours, De'Aaron Fox scored 49 points in a win against the Jazz. So he was able to score 109 points within basically 2 days. That is the most since Kobe Bryant, who scored 110 points in 2 days back in 2007, March 2007 to be more specifically. So he was able to do something that only Kobe has done within what, like 20 years, give or take a few years. But yeah, what are your thoughts on this? Isn't this insane?
Yeah, it is. I mean, anytime you're in the same conversation as Kobe Bean Bryant, the Black Mamba, you know you're in good company. And the fact that no player has scored as many points as De'Aaron Fox did since Kobe all the way back in March 2007, definitely really crazy. Um, 60 points followed by 49 points. Um, 1-1 record, not the worst thing in the world. At least he didn't lose both of those games. But yeah, definitely nonetheless, really cool to see those crazy scoring bursts. Especially from the Aaron. I think he's one of the more fun players to watch for sure still, even though his team unfortunately hasn't really been that good these last 2 years. Um, but yeah, De'Aaron putting up these crazy numbers is really cool to see for sure. So good for him being the most 2-day span scorer since Kobe all the way back in March 2007.
Yeah, I think that month for Kobe, he had like an incredible scoring run. He like had a 60-point game, a few 50-point games, a lot of 40-point games within uh like several games straight. Bro's a legend. He's the go. He's so good.
Yeah, I've seen the YouTube clips from that crazy streak he was on back in early 2007, just carrying the hell out of that mediocre Lakers team at the time.
So shout out to both of them. Next, speaking about Lakers, I guess Dalton Connect 4, our rookie over there for the Los Angeles Lakers, is making a small rookie of the year a push because this past week he had a 37-point game with 12 of 16 shooting, 9 of 12 from 3. This was against the Jazz. This was an NBA Cup game as well, where they were able to get the win. And it was an incredible performance. He scored 21 of his points within the third quarter. Very reminiscent of Klay Thompson when he went off. I forgot what was his record, the amount of points he scored in a quarter.
It was 38 points in the third quarter.
That's
against
crazy.
the King in March of 2015.
Yeah, that's crazy. So, yeah,
Yeah.
we got our own mini Clay doing that as our rookie. Not to that extremity, not 38 points, but we still got nice 21 points from the rookie. And I believe this is still the most scored, or the most amount of points by a rookie in a single game. So,
I
uh,
think so.
I'm assuming you're very happy about Dalton Connect's performances as of late, since he is a rookie. So, do you think he has a chance for Rookie of the Year? Do you think Jaden McCain still has it in the bag, or Zach Edey will come up from behind and take it? Or do you actually think that Connect will make a strong push moving forward, especially since he's been starting more lately?
Yeah, I think it's really hard to say about this simply due to the fact that like the number of touches may vary a lot throughout the year. Like for example, this week, the fact that Rui was out and Cam Reddish, he was back, but I believe he may have missed like a few games or something, like one game I think. But being short-handed definitely helped Dalton get his opportunity, and it was clearly well deserved. Um, that being said, with Rui returning now, I don't know like how that's gonna exactly affect his minutes for Dalton. I think if anything, he's definitely gonna still see the floor a good amount. It just might be a more of like a split time with Rui. That being said, as much as I want to say yes that he could win the Rookie of the Year, I feel like it's hard for me to really believe that he actually will do it due to the fact that he plays with two superstars. And they're going to take a lot of his touches away, you would think. Um, I, but then, on the contrary, for Jared McCain, with such an impressive start he had, I've mentioned it in the last episode that once they get healthy, Embiid, Maxey, and George, if all of them are on the floor at the same time, there's a chance he's going to lose touches too. that being said, like it's just so hard for me to say. I feel like at the moment, Jared McCain is easily the leader of the rookie rankings. As the season goes by, though, I think there might be a good chance that Zach Edey ends up getting up there, which what did happen to be our original Rookie of the Year pick, by the way. Um, so yeah, I think that for Connect and McCain, it's just very hard to say due to all the star power that's surrounding them. Versus Edie, he has Jaw and a lot of other good players, but only Jaw is like the marquee all-star fringe talent. So I feel like if anything, Edie would be able to maintain more touches or gain even more than he is currently having versus these guys, their roles might diminish a little bit throughout the year as the games go by. But that's not to say that what they have been doing is not impressive, or because it is still very impressive regardless. But what are your thoughts on, I guess, the Rookie of the Year conversations?
Your explanation makes a lot of sense. Zach Edey does have a role in the starting lineup. I think that's the biggest reason why we chose him as Rookie of the Year, because we knew he was going to start next to Jaren Jackson Jr., John Morant, Desmond Bain, you said John Morant is like the only all-star fringe player, but I feel like those three are also like all-star talents. Maybe not all-stars. Jaren Jackson Jr. was an all-star at one point, but the three of them are all-star talents, just not the same as Anthony Davis and LeBron James, obviously. So I do understand your point there. And I do think Dalton's minutes will go down when Rui comes back. Jerry McCain, though, I feel like he's been so good for the 76ers, and that fact that he's like the only good thing about the organization right now, I feel like it'd be stupid if the Sixers don't give him more minutes somehow, some way.
Right.
Like, there's no way they could start him and Maxey at the same time, because that'll be a very small backcourt. But they gotta give him more minutes because he has proven already that he could be a very important scoring option, which is definitely needed if we have Maxey injured. Paul George is looking like shit right now. Embiid looking like an ogre out there, just very clumsy. Doesn't really know what to do at the moment. We'll definitely be talking about them really soon, but I think the Sixers would be very stupid if they don't give McCain the minutes that he deserves. And if he gets those minutes, I do think he'll take Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, I agree. If he maintains the amount of minutes, or at least somewhere remotely close to what he's getting right now, easily the Rookie of the Year is Jared McCain. If for some dumb reason they do limit his minutes by a good margin, that's when things might get a little complicated. But I feel like it's definitely going to be a interesting race down the road, to say the least.
Yeah, that's for sure. But I guess that's it for rookie talk. Now, this is going to be very interesting to talk about. So the next winner of the weekend is whoever is a fan of close, exciting NBA action. Because this past week, or at least a little bit over a week, there's been 5 game winners. I don't know if anybody else has noticed that, but there's been 5 game winners within like a 10-day span. And yeah, I'm going to go through like every game winner and some context. And then at the end, I would like you to tell me which one was the best game winner of the week. Sounds good?
Yeah, sounds good. Let's get it rolling.
So starting with Jordan Collins at November 14th, it was against the Mavericks, and this was pretty viral because, Jordan Clarkson had the ball and noticed that John Collins wasn't being guarded by anybody. It was Luka who should have been with them, but he was frozen out there for some reason. And Jordan Clarkson, waited a bit, passed it to John Collins for an easy game-winning dunk. Collins had 28 points, 9 rebounds, 3 assists, and 2 steals, and obviously the game winner. On November 16th, Jason Tatum hit his game winner, which was actually kind of funny because during regulation, Jason Tatum had a chance for a win. He was able to drop his defender. He had a wide open midi, and he ended up missing, so the game went to overtime. And in overtime, he was defended a lot better. He was much farther in the and threw a deep 3 shot, and that went in for the win. So he was able to make an even harder shot for the win, which was pretty impressive. Technically, this one shouldn't have counted because he traveled in that possession, but a win is a win. And, it's actually interesting how there's been 5 game winners this past week, and 3 of them technically shouldn't have counted according to the NBA, what is it called? 2-minute report?
Yeah, 2-minute, I think it's 2-minute report, where they go over the controversial officiating at the end of the games or something like that.
Yeah, so that's actually kind of funny how this is the case for this week. But yeah, Tatum had a great game, 24 points, 11 rebounds, 9 assists, and the game winner. November 17th, Julius Randle had a game winner for the Minnesota Timberwolves against the Suns. He hit the game winner by doing a slight push off of Josh Okogie, who I think kind of flopped as well. And I guess the refs did as well because they didn't call that as a foul. And after the push, he stepped back for a 3 for the win, and basically spoiling Booker's 44-point performance. And I liked how he was kind of mocking Booker because Booker was mad that they didn't get the call for the flop, and he had his arms up. So as a celebration, Julius Randle put his arms up as well. I thought that was pretty cool. He had a great game overall, 35 points, 4 rebounds, 7 assists. A sneaky good season for Randle at Minnesota. So shout out to him. Unfortunately, or I guess not that unfortunate, but this technically shouldn't have counted either because once again there was a travel violation. But a win is a win. A win is a win. Next, we got Damian Lillard on November 18th. The superstars came through in the last few seconds because Giannis was able to block Alperen Sengun, who had a nice pass from Fred VanVleet and had seemingly an easy bucket, but Giannis blocked it, grabbed the rebound, passed it to Dame. Dame cooked and was able to get a hard, difficult layup within traffic. There was 3 seconds left, but the Rockets couldn't win the game. So Dame was able to get the game-winning shot, even though he didn't have the best game out there. I think this was the game where he couldn't make a 3, or his percentages were pretty low, but he ended up with 18 points, 10 assists. But still, he got the game winner, so that's all that matters against a pretty good young Rockets team. And once again, this shouldn't have counted because when Giannis grabbed the rebound, his foot was out of bounds. So technically, it should have been the Rockets' ball, but it is what it is. A win is a win. So shout out to Dame. And the last one, we're almost done here. This was my least favorite because Franz Wagner hit a game winner against the Lakers on November 21st. This was after AD missed 2 crucial free throws that could have tied the game. But yeah, since he missed it, or not tied the game, extended the lead for the Lakers. But since he missed it, it was 116 for the Magic, 118 for the Lakers. And yeah, he missed it. The Magic got possession. Franz Wagner dribbled out the clock for a bit before hitting a step back three near the logo for the win over Cam Reddish. There was 2.5 seconds left, but it didn't matter because Magic ended up winning this one. Franz had an amazing game again without Paulo. Paulo's still injured. Magic is still killing it. And Franz had 37 points, 6 rebounds, 11 assists, 4 steals. So those were a good amount of game winners that I just mentioned. Which one was your favorite?
Okay, so good question. You asked me which one is my favorite, not which one do I think was the best one. Okay, so which one was my favorite? Low key, I'm not gonna lie. If you're talking about my favorite, low key, maybe the Damian Lillard one, believe it or not. Because, like, his was a layup, but must I remind you that he had to drive through traffic amongst, like, the twin, like, bigs in the paint that could have easily blocked him, and they didn't. And here's the thing. The John Collins was simply a dunk. Jason Tatum and Julius Randle shouldn't have counted. And then Franz Wagner happened against the Lakers. So obviously that's not going to be my favorite.
Technically, though, the Damian Lillard one shouldn't have counted because Giannis was out of bounds.
I actually didn't see that, but that's wild. But still doesn't change the fact from my favorite one. But I'm sure this is probably what the question you were looking for was, which one did I think was the most impressive? And unfortunately, I think I have to go with the Franz Wagner as the most impressive one. And that's simply due to the fact that, as you mentioned, he shot it from damn near the logo. That is such a long distance three. When I saw him shoot that, I'm like, there's a chance he makes this, but will he make it? Like, I pray he didn't make it. And then that mother ended up making that shot, man. Fucking AD choked at the end of that game so bad. So he missed those 2 free throws. And then on the previous 2 free throws, he only made 1 out of 2. So he ended up missing 3 out of 4 super crucial free throws. That really, if he would have made 2 of them, the game is iced and the Lakers win. But he somehow uncharacteristically misses 3 out of 4. Because, like, AD in general is a good free throw shooter. He'll occasionally have those moments he misses 2. But if he does that, he'll make up for it and do better the next trip. But I don't know what happened there. That was rough. The thing is, like, AD was having a really good game, too, before that. So that was bad. But if you're asking which game winner was the most impressive, I gotta go with Franz just because his was a very deep 3 near the logo. Granted, 3 of these game winners technically shouldn't have counted, and 1 of them was just a dunk. So I believe that the most impressive just unfortunately ended up happening against the Lakers, but Franz Wagner had the most impressive game winner. Any initial thoughts, Memo? I guess you can now answer your own questions. Favorite, and then which one you think is most impressive.
Well, I would say that I wasn't going to say Franz Wagner had the most impressive game winner. He probably had the most impressive game with 37 points and the game winner and all that. I do think maybe that Jason Tatum one is a bit more impressive. I think he had just harder defense, and it still hit a deep 3. I think Wagner hit the deeper 3, but Tatum still hit a deep 3 for the win at the buzzer, which is always, like, cool to see. Wagner had a few seconds left after making the shot, so it's less cool, but still, like, good for him, right? So I guess impressive Tatum. My favorite was surprisingly Julius Randle, which I've talked about how I don't like watching him play. I don't like his playing style, but the way he was able to just push off Josh Okogie and piss off Devin Booker and hit a really nice 3-point shot. The celebration as well, the way that the Timberwolves celebrated with them, it was all really cool. So that one was my favorite. But I would have said that Tatum had the more impressive game winner. But I agree with you. John Collins had it easy. He wasn't on my radar at all.
Agreed. And I will say this. If Jason Tatum did not travel, I think easily I would have said him. Granted, it was still a very impressive shot. Don't get me wrong. It's just the fact that it traveled and really shouldn't have counted that have me docking him off my list, shall we say. But nonetheless, yes, it is still a very impressive game-winning shot. Even though the refs did blow that call, I guess get what you get. He got what he got, and he made that very impressive shot. So, yeah, I would say if we were to take out the controversy factors, probably Jason Tatum was definitely the most impressive one, simply because it was a tougher defense and at the buzzer. And then I would say Franz, probably just because of how deep it was number 2. But yeah, definitely some of these. Overall, I think most of these were all impressive. John Collins being the least impressive because it was just a dunk.
Yeah, I agree. And the day one too is very impressive. He's a short guy, so being able to hit that tough layup within traffic, within some large towers in the way, that is impressive. So that's a very solid choice.
Definitely. And yeah, I will say the Julius Randle one was definitely really satisfying too, because not a Suns fan. Seeing Devin Booker cry was hilarious, and Josh Okogie flop was also very hilarious. He sold that so hard, man. I'm glad the refs didn't fall for the bait, because that would have been really dumb.
Yeah, you could have said that flop is what lost them the game. He should have played better defense instead of flopping. But
he should have.
So I guess a mini loser of the week for Okogie. And yeah, we're moving on to the losers now, which we don't have a lot. We do have this big story, though, which is coming from the 76ers once again. I think last week was the only week we didn't mention the 76ers for the losers of the week, even though they arguably could have been in the losers list last week. But they're once again back in the losers list. And yeah, that's just because they had at one point the worst record in the league. I wrote 2-11 record. I think at one point they were 2-12. You could correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, so they're 3-12 now because they beat the Nets in the NBA Cup game.
Yeah, so they're 3-12 now, but at one point they were 2-12, which was the worst record in the league, which is surprising coming from a team led by Joel Embiid, who, he's kind of back, but he's not playing that well, and the whole team is in shambles right now, especially after the 11th game of their season, because they lost this game against Miami. And because of that, they had a meeting after the game where Maxey apparently called out Embiid for always being late and challenged him to start arriving on time for team activities. Maxey claims that Embiid's lateness impacts the locker room from other players to the coaching staff, which is a quote from Shams. But, maybe this isn't a big deal because their relationship is really close. Again, according to Shams, they have a close friendship and have a history of holding each other accountable. So that's good because Embiid definitely needs it. Just looking at him, he doesn't really seem to know what he's doing out there, and that's what he's even mentioned as well. He stated that he is confused and about what the 76ers are attempting to execute sometimes on the court, and you can really tell by the way he plays. But yeah, this is a bad look for the 76ers, even though I'm sure it'll be fine within the next week. I'm sure the relationship between Maxey and Embiid is not hindered whatsoever, but the fact that Maxey, a much younger player, had to call out the former MVP, a 76er that has been there for a while now. I think, has he hit past 10 years? I don't remember. It's sad to see that Maxey's being like the true leader on the team. On a team that's been awful. Like this week, they had the first game where Maxey, Paul George, and Embiid played together, but that was a shit show. Maxey had his worst game of the season. Paul George still doesn't look good, and I think he just got injured as well. Joel Embiid is picking his butt on the free throw line. This whole season for the 76ers is just a shit show. Do you agree? Like, how do you feel about the Sixers?
Yeah, it's a shit show to say the least. Yeah, because like when they started the year bad, we figured they would get better as they get their guys back slowly but surely. And it's not a good start because like they did have both Embiid and George back for a few games, and they lost a good amount of them. And the only game that they ended up winning, ironically, was when once again Embiid was out and George is out, which was the game today against the Nets. So yeah, I don't know what to say about the Sixers team. I think they will get better as the season goes by. And there's a good chance that they probably still make the playoffs just because of how bad the Eastern Conference is. But I really expect no more than, once again, a first round exit from this team. Like, if they somehow, some way get really lucky with, like, let's say playing a weak first round opponent, that would be their best bet of potentially getting past this first round. But guarantee you, if they somehow, some way found a way to get out of the first round, they're going to lose in the second round again. Like, this team has not made it past the second round since the last time they made the finals in 2001 when they lost against the Lakers. Yeah, I don't think this team is really going to go that far, honestly. I think they'll get a little bit better, but not like crazy better. And yeah, as far as that Embiid incident, that was really weird. I don't know why he did that. The free throw line one.
He does it often, weirdly enough. Like, it's not a one-time thing. He's done it a few times. He did it during practice, too. It's really weird.
I don't get why he does this. Like, is it really that itchy? Maybe you need to go get something checked. I don't know.
He's checking if it smells.
Yeah, maybe he needs to clean it better, potentially. I don't know. I mean, yeah, I don't know what his issue is. But yeah, the Sixers are just looking like a train wreck, and I'm sure they'll get a little bit better, but probably not a lot better. So, yeah, unfortunately, they continue to take plenty of L's as they have been on the L list pretty much every single week so far this season.
Right. Speaking of L's, though, we kind of hinted, but the Suns are on the list. Would you like to explain why?
Yeah, So I added the Suns on the list a little bit later on. And the reason is because they are now on a 5-game losing streak. And it was a record of 9-7. And with this losing streak, they slipped all the way down from top 3 to the 7th seed in the Western Conference. However, the good news is that they do get Beal and KD back very soon. And there's a possibility that they will both return the very next game against the Lakers on Tuesday for the NBA Cup. That's pretty much the Lakers' luck. Random players returning against us. But to be fair, we have been playing a good amount of short-handed teams too, so I will put that slack a little bit to the side, but it does seem like a lot of times those star players do tend to be more motivated and wanting to play when it's against the Lakers, because it's the Lakers. Of course they want to beat us because jealous of our history, our accomplishments. Yeah. Anyhow, I'm sure the Suns will do good again once they get their guys back and healthy. But at the moment, clearly Booker is not able to lead this team alone. And showing some shades of those old days when Booker was by himself and the Suns were one of the worst teams in the league. Because all they did was lose back then. And what are they doing now without KD and Beal? Losing a bunch of games. But yeah, they'll be fine once they get those guys back. But yeah, I feel like aside from that, not too much. Just the fact that the Suns are on a crazy losing streak, so I had to put them on the L list.
Yeah, it makes sense, especially like because of those injuries. Uh, like the starting lineups for the Suns have been looking awful, like the worst since pre Chris Paul era Suns. So it was looking bad, but I'm sure things will be good very soon. And then one more thing I want to throw in here. I didn't put it in our notes because I forgot. But the Pelicans definitely should be here due to the fact that this this franchise has the worst luck in the league. Their entire starting lineup was all injured at one point. They were starting Alfred Payton. They brought back Alfred Payton and started him for his first game back in like years. Um, and I believe the stat I saw was that the all the players that were injured made up 90% of the roster's payroll, with which means that they're basically wasting their money at the moment because most of the money they put into this team are injured. They're playing some very what's the word? Not well paid players, I guess. Like I think one of their highest paid players at the moment that's not injured is a rookie, and we all know that rookie contracts aren't the most like lucrative. So
Yeah, they're quite cheap usually.
so yeah, if I was a Pelicans fan, I'd be crying every night. So that's why I think they should be in the L list.
Yeah, definitely. I honestly I didn't notice Alfred Payton was the last time he was in the league was the 2021-2022 season. And like he's shown flashes of being good, honestly. I didn't notice he was in the G League for these last 2 seasons, so I thought he was like overseas, if anything. But yeah, unfortunately, Pelicans down bad due to crazy injuries, so definitely worthy of being on the L list. I will say this though, just a very quick and brief mention because not really too much needed to be said, honestly. But I'm gonna go ahead and add the Wizards on the L list because now they hold the worst record in the league, and their losing streak has dragged all the way to 10 games now. So the Wizards now have a league worst 2-12 record in the NBA. So not good for that team.
Yeah,
Not that we didn't
definitely
expect them to be
huge
bad.
losers.
Yeah, we knew they would be a bad team, but this is still not to excuse them from being on the list. I will say this: they kind of shockingly played the Celtics close in their NBA Cup game tonight, but close is not good enough. They still lost. So yeah, Wizards. I guess if anything, it's not that shocking that they have the worst record because they look like one of the worst teams from the jump in the offseason. So yeah, I think that would be good for our L list. I think now we can go over some NBA news to wrap up our episode. Um, I guess I can start with the first topic. So it was reported earlier in the week that inside the NBA, very good fan favorite NBA show on TNT is gonna be continuing despite TNT's ending this season, but it's gonna be shifting over to ESPN and ABC. Which, when I first saw this, I was definitely really happy that the show is gonna continue, but then I was also kind of confused, like, why ESPN, ABC? I mean, like, can't they just let NBC take over because that's the channel that's gonna be replacing TNT? So I don't know why they didn't want to just. Don't know why NBC didn't just want to take on the reins. I mean, I feel like that could have been the easiest way to do it. If you're gonna get rid of one network, just carry over that cast into the new network. But yeah, I guess they're doing something a little different there. And I will say this: ESPN has always been my least favorite national television network for NBA games because I just feel like the games are so boring. Like the commentating is not as exciting. Granted, like Mike Breen, he can still have like really good calls, but like the game broadcasts just don't seem. Aside from okay, correction, the broadcasts are fine. It's just like the studio crew is nowhere near as entertaining as TNT, and for good reason. I mean, like the thing is, like TNT has a lot of good humorous jokester guys, and then ESPN they do have ex NBA players, but they're like all strictly business, not a lot of like fun. So that's why like TNT is so much better. The fact that they're gonna bring Inside the NBA to ESPN, ABC to continue is definitely really cool. So hopefully that will make ESPN ABC games more exciting then. I think the only thing that would be missing though is the fact that it would now be the much more boring, less exciting ESPN NBA or ESPN ABC theme versus the very exciting TNT theme song because I do like the theme song that TNT also. So yeah, it's definitely gonna be a weird adjustment once it does come intact, but overall I'd say glad that the Inside the NBA is here to stay. Any initial thoughts on this news? I guess were you shocked or are you happy about it? What do you see?
I was definitely shocked. Shocked. I did not see this coming whatsoever, and I'm glad that they mentioned how they're gonna leave inside the NBA like basically the same, like same crew, and basically the same show, which is good. I was afraid that ESPN will make it boring, like make it more professional or make it uh more lame, I guess. And I was afraid they'll throw in their like Stephen A. Smiths in there or like random people that shouldn't be there. But that doesn't seem to be the case. I was kind of accepting the end of the inside of the NBA, like because I'm kind of tired of hearing like Shaq being like ultra sensitive and being bitter about players, about big men being good at their jobs and stuff like that. Um, So I'm tired of Shaq. Even though he is funny, like he was playing with fake money earlier this week. He was flexing his fake $3 million. That's fun. I think altogether these guys are fun. Sometimes I'm annoyed with Shaq though. He's kind of grown to be like my least favorite of the four, which is weird because he's a Lakers legend. He won three chips with Kobe. I should be a big fan of this guy, but the more he speaks, the more I'm like he sounds like a boomer, which is crazy when Charles Barkley is is inside the NBA. He should be the one that's taking all the boomer takes, but he's at least funny. I think he's funnier than Shaq.
Yeah, I think the thing about Shaq is like I like him as a personality, and he's a really funny guy. It's just that his NBA takes usually are not very good, simply due to the fact that he's just like over hating specifically the big men that he's probably deep down thinks have a chance of threatening his legacy. But the thing is, like, if you're confident enough in your own abilities and what you did, that shouldn't be the case. Like, a lot of those guys that he like talks a lot of smack on, I don't see them having like that much of a chance of like touching his ground. Like he's safe. Like what, Rudy Gobert? He's not gonna touch Shaq. Come on now. Like Dwight Howard, he's not going to also. JaVale McGee, no. Um even like a few years ago when Shaq and Chuck were making fun of AD when he got hurt in the playoffs against the Warriors, that was definitely very childish. Because I remember like Ernie was like literally showing his frustrations on air. He's like, "What are you guys laughing about? Like, I have an idea what you're laughing at, but like, why is it funny?" And they were like trying so hard not to say what they were laughing at, but it was so obvious what they were laughing at. So yeah, definitely sometimes, like, granted, like they do make the show fun. Sometimes, or a lot of times, definitely showing like maturity issues there. Um, but overall, though, I am glad that they're continuing to show. Probably won't be quite the same on ESPN, but hopefully at least somewhat the same.
Yeah, I hope so. But yeah, we got one more story, then we're out of here. Pat Riley is getting a statue from the Los Angeles Lakers, joining statues like the Kareem one, Shaq, Kobe, Elgin Baylor, Jerry West, and a few more. Um, and yeah, Pat Riley, legendary coach for the Lakers, also a player for the Lakers. He won a chip with the Lakers as a player, one as an assistant coach, and four as the head coach. I believe he coached the Lakers for like 9 years and had a crazy run. Like, I believe every season they won at least 50 points every time, which is insane. And yeah, he's definitely known for coaching the Showtime Lakers, the success of winning with the Showtime Lakers. So I definitely do think he deserves this statue, even though it's kind of random having a statue for a coach. But he is one of the most iconic coaches in NBA history, so I feel like this one makes sense.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. When you think of statues, you usually think players, not necessarily coaches. But I do think it's a cool, unique idea because he's clearly one of the legendary coaches, not just in Lakers history, but NBA history. And then, of course, now he's still a really good GM for the Heat or executive. So, yeah, all around, Pat Riley is just a legend, basketball legend. And it's definitely cool that they're doing this tribute for him. I mean, like, speaking of non-player statues, obviously we already have the Chick Hearn statue. So I guess adding in a coach in Pat Riley adds the uniqueness. Because, like, I don't know if any other teams per se have like coach statues or like non-players even. But I
Uh,
liked the Lakers going outside the box.
yeah, the Lakers always do a good job with their statues too. It's become like kind of a
Yeah.
tourist destination as well, especially with the Kobe statue there now. There's huge lines for taking pictures with that statue, as we've noticed when we visited earlier this year. But yeah, now seeing
Yeah.
how the Lakers are giving a coach a statue, and knowing the Lakers, they do make a lot of statues. I was wondering, will Phil Jackson get a statue for the Lakers one day? Uh, as we know, Coach Kobe was able to win a bunch of rings, but with Michael Jordan's Bulls and with the Los Angeles Lakers, you think you'll get a statue for either organization one day?
I hope so. And I'm going to say this. I think he definitely deserves it. I mean, like, I'm, I do not want to, like, compare and contrast to take away Pat Riley's much needed shine because he really deserves a statue. Um, but if you're comparing the two, I guess it's a very debatable topic. But the fact that Phil Jackson was able to win 11 championships as a head coach, 6 with the Bulls, 5 with the Lakers, is just a crazy accomplishment. Like, I think he's easily the greatest head coach of all time, but there could be an argument. And Pat Riley is one of them. But I think that there's definitely, to say the least, a strong case that Phil Jackson should definitely also get a statue. I would say by both franchises, honestly. If we're talking the Lakers, though, I would say for sure it would be cool or you know what would be really cool? Um, I don't know how exactly like where they're gonna place it. It would be cool though. Like let's say for example, they put the Pat Riley statue next to the Magic statue, and then they put the Phil Jackson statue next to the Kobe statue, separating by eras. That would be like a cool idea, honestly. Um, but to answer your question, I think yes, Phil Jackson absolutely deserves it. Will it happen? I hope so.
Yeah, it'll be cool to see. Um, okay, I guess we're done. We had a nice, lengthy episode, but we had a lot to cover, and I thought it was fun to talk about. Honestly, I honestly been very proud of our podcast as of late, and how we've been able to do a nice little recap every week of the NBA. So I hope you all enjoyed that. But we are done. So thank you all for watching or listening if you're on uh, podcast listening platforms, audio platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcasts. If you don't follow us there, please do. That'll be awesome. Give us a 5-star rating or a positive review. That would be cool as well. Subscribe to the YouTube if you're interested in the video format. Check out our social medias. I just posted a TikTok recently that did pretty well. So, talk about the Cavs streak ending. So, if you're interested, you can check that out. But yeah, anything you want to say before we head out?
Yeah, pretty much just mirroring Memo's words per usual. Thank you guys for the constant support and for watching our content. And we really greatly appreciate you guys for that. Make sure to follow us on all platforms. If you guys like our videos, continue to like, comment, subscribe, and share. And make sure you stay tuned because the group stage play for NBA Cup is going to be ending next week. And then after that, we will go to even more exciting knockout stages. And then after that, there will be, that's when, like, I guess in a way, the season won't be like as exciting at certain points. But we'll find a way to make it exciting by implementing whatever cool ideas we can think of. So make sure you guys stay tuned per usual. And as always, appreciate you guys for the support.
Yeah, but that's it from us. We'll see you all next week. Goodbye.